I brought Post-its so we can all write those phrases down that we learned, properly use. Yeah, I will. Just trying to- Yep.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome to the Fraser City Council regular scheduled meeting for Thursday, January 13th at 6:33 PM. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Cindy, could you please take a roll call, please?
Present.
Councilmember Blanky,
Present.
Mayor Carnegie,
Here.
Councilmember Odell,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuler,
Here.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Present.
Councilmember Woodward.
Present.
Item 4, the approval of the agenda. I believe we have some amendments. Councilwoman Baranski.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to amend the agenda to remove item 7I from the agenda. I'd also, oh, L, I'm sorry. Looked like lowercase I. Item 7L from the agenda. I'd also like to amend the agenda to move item 12A closed session up to become 7B. And that one would actually be 7B1. And then I would add that would be 7B2, and I would add 7B1 to add a closed session to discuss Federal District Court Case Number 2017 CV 11813, to discuss trial or settlement strategy. And hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, we have a motion with multiple changes. Any comments or questions on those changes? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Councilwoman Baranski?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Any comments or questions from the audience? Any from council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is citizen participation on agenda items. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to make a comment on an agenda item only at this time, who cannot stay for the entire meeting, please let yourself recognized, and we will call you up front. Okay, I see nobody. I'll bring it back to the chair. Item 6, consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of consent agenda as submitted. Any comments or questions? Sir. For what? Yeah. Any other comments or questions on the consent agenda? Any from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any approved? Motion approved. Item 7, new business, 7A, public hearing, 2022 CDBG funding. At this time, I would like to open the meeting for public hearing at 6:37 PM. Is there anyone from the public? Please come forward, state your name, address, and organization for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nicole.
Have a seat.
My name is Nicole King. My address, I'm from Cure House. We're located in Mount Clemens, but we also have a satellite campus in Warren. So I'm a forensic interviewer. I'm also an intervention coordinator. Care House is Macomb County's Child Advocacy Center. We are the only agency in Macomb County who offers the comprehensive services for child victims of sexual abuse, physical abuse, or children who have witnessed a violent act, as well as their non-offending parents or caregivers. Our goal is to minimize the trauma for any child victim and also provide their family with support services to start their healing process. Care House is an accredited member of the National Children's Alliance. We collaborate with law enforcement, which all the law enforcement jurisdictions in Macomb County, FBI, Homeland Security, as well as ICE. We collaborate with Child Protective Services, the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office, and medical and mental health professionals. Almost 3 kids here in Michigan classrooms and over 20,000 of all the children right here in Macomb County are living with the trauma of sexual abuse. These numbers surely are much higher. This is our best estimate since many children don't come forward and disclose abuse right away. Children with sexual abuse is a reality for every race, gender, and economic status. These children could be your kids, your neighbor's kids, or even your friends' kids. This could even be you or me. Over 800 child victims of sexual and physical abuse from every community in Macomb County start their journey at Care House. Care House offers intervention and support services for child victims and their parents, intervening to promote healing and helping families cope with the emotional stress and trauma that's caused by not only the acts of the abuse, but also by the investigation process. Our services include the coordination of forensic interviews, crisis counseling, child safety assessments, parent and child support groups, trauma-focused therapy sessions, family advocacy, and access to forensic medical examinations, and referrals to any other community resources as needed. As the designated counsel in Macomb County for the Michigan Children's Trust Fund, Care House also offers child abuse prevention information for education and training for professionals in the community. Families are never charged for services they received at Care House, and we provide services to all referred children and their non-offending family and caregivers. I'm also proud to report that on our current most recent independent financial audit, over 88 cents of every dollar that comes to Care House is specifically devoted to serving children and their families in our community. Since opening in 1996, we have conducted over 9,500 child forensic interviews, with 171 of those children residing here in Fraser. In 2020, we provided 664 forensic interviews serving 14 Fraser children. In last year, in 2021, we conducted 727 forensic interviews, and 7 of those children resided here in the city of Fraser. The pandemic continues to be very challenging time for us at Care House and the families we serve. Our largest annual fundraiser was canceled in 2020, and we were able to hold it last year. However, our resources are continued to be stretched thin. We've seen a large increase for our demand of support and the services from the families impacted by the pandemic. To meet this need, we established the family pantries at both of our locations with non-perishable food items and snacks, cleaning supplies and PPEs, baby items, household and school supplies, as well as just children's games and books. We also provided holiday assistance for 16 families in need, making the season a little bit brighter for 63 children and their parents. We depend on the support to provide a voice for children and the child victims and a safe place for them to be heard. We are grateful for the $4,800 that we received in CDBG funds from the City of Fraser last year, and for your longstanding support. We respectfully request the consideration of funding for this upcoming year in $4,800, and that will support services for 8 qualifying child victims and their families. We're forever grateful for any amount you are able to allocate for us. And I do have some information, if I can pass that out, but does anybody have any questions for me?
Nope, I see none.
Thank you.
thank you for coming out. We like it when they come out, people come out and actually explain a little about their organizations and what they do and what they're serving to. So thank you again for coming. Yep, absolutely. Name and address and organization for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Stacy Conti. I'm with Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers. We're located in Roseville, about 10 mile in Fraser, but I'm actually a resident of Fraser myself. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator at Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers. With the number of older adults in Macomb County rapidly increasing, the need for support services due to frailties of age, chronic health conditions, or disabilities is growing dramatically and will continue to do so well into the future. For 29 years, our organization has been providing free basic assistance to hundreds of frail, older, and physically challenged adults, helping them remain safely in their homes with the help of over 200 volunteers. Such assistance has been transportation, chores, respite breaks, errands, and loneliness, just to name a few. These opportunities provide fulfilling experiences for those who wish to volunteer, as well as support for those in need. The CDBG Safe at Home project of IVC is part of our larger chore and repair program for older and disabled adults. The project was developed to provide additional chore and repair services in communities that allocate funding for this purpose. The project allows us to assist low to moderate income seniors and physically challenged adults with indoor and outdoor chores, minor home repairs, and light housekeeping. We identify individuals who cannot do these tasks on their own and have limited resources and prioritize those with the greatest need. We are requesting the CDBG funds to increase the number of low-income citizens we can reach to grow our program, as well as coordinate the volunteers who do these services. In our 29 years, we have served almost 450 clients, with almost 150 being served through the Safe at Home program. We are confident that the addition of funding we receive for the current year from Fraser through the CDBG is what is keeping us on track to double the amount of Safe at Home tasks completed from years that we didn't have this funding. We are requesting the same amount of funding as we requested for this year, so we can once again double our task completion from years we didn't have the funding. As a newlywed who moved to Fraser in 2020, I would be really happy to see frailer, older, and physically challenged adults be able to receive assistance through this project. The appreciation for the assistance is so heartwarming from our seniors, such as a woman who we helped install a new toilet who didn't have any other means of toilets in her house. Other examples of help through this project may be replacing locks, washing windows, and installing smoke alarms. With the CDBG funding, the project can grow and assistance can be granted to a variety of lower-income Fraser senior citizens and disabled adults, and it would really make me happy to see this growth in my hometown. Thank you for your time tonight. Any dollar amount we granted is greatly appreciated, and we thank you for the funds we've received this year, as we hope to continue to partner with you going forward. And if you know of any seniors who might need to utilize our services or could use some assistance, can always call our office or visit our website. And I also have information unless there's any questions.
Great.
Thank you.
I have one question. The funds that other cities give you, is that those funds used for specifically for seniors in those cities, or do they share whatever where they're needed
So we
at?
use the funds from each city to service citizens in that city.
City?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is there anybody else at this time?
Good evening, council members, mayor, City Manager. My name is Diane Banks. I am the Executive Director of Advancing Macomb Foundation. Advancing Macomb was created in 2014 to help attract philanthropic investments into Macomb County communities to enhance our communities. This is the first year we are requesting CDBG funding, and this is specifically for a recreation program in several communities in Macomb County, and it's called Breaking Barriers to Play. And I hope that I have the opportunity to present to the council a little bit more broadly about this program, but I'm here tonight specifically requesting CDBG funding to provide scholarships for recreation program for low to moderate income youth. This program was developed from a regional grant initiative to try to increase access to youth sports and recreation and lower the costs for municipalities to provide recreational programming. Advancing Macomb was one of 15 grantees throughout the region. We're the only grantee in Macomb County selected for a pilot program called Sportport, which provided a free equipment lending library to youth, similar to the way a library works. Youth and families can check out sports equipment at no cost and utilize that, and then if return it, after 2 weeks, free of charge, and they can check it out as much as they want. So it's an opportunity to get sports equipment into kids' hands and try to get them more active. That was a pilot program. We had a successful program even during COVID. We gave away play kits and had some wraparound programming work with the YMCA, Macomb Family YMCA, to provide additional programming outside of just lending out the sports equipment. And after that pilot program, actually they looked at the partnership in Mount Clemens as a lead organization to continue the program, and we developed this new program called Breaking Barriers to Play. And it combines that sports equipment lending library along with a collaborative approach using existing youth sports organizations to try to lower the cost and provide cost sharing to try to revitalize in-town recreation. We know youth sports, if any of you have kids that are involved with sports, and if any of you are involved with travel programs, it is out of reach for many families, and it's also very competitive. Often kids end up dropping out by the age of 12 because it's too much pressure, too much competition, or the families just can't afford it anymore. So there's been this regional push to try to find innovative programming ideas to try to lower the cost of recreation. So we have been partnering with several youth sports organizations in the Mount Clemens area, LK St. Clair Soccer. We also have worked with the YMCA for swimming lessons. So we've been talking to them about how we can help each other out with lowering the cost for recreation programming. And the Breaking Barriers to Play program is a family-centered program that focuses on sports sampling. Introducing kids to different types of sports, but also allowing them to choose non-traditional sports programs to try to lower that pressure a little bit. So just pick up games of kickball, golf. We've actually been in discussions with the First Tee of Greater Detroit to provide golf lessons, water safety, nutrition, more of that family-centered type traditional recreation programming. And we do have interest from some philanthropic foundations that are interested in this pilot program. So we already have a few grant requests out. I'll be submitting one with the Michigan Health Endowment Fund soon to try to pilot this type of program to try to lower the cost and increase access to youth sports. So the requests that I have submitted for $4,900 with Fraser would provide 25 scholarships for youth that are low to moderate income to participate in a 40-week program. So that program would be 20 weeks as the core program, which includes sports sampling and free play, those types of wraparound services, family-centered wraparound services. And then they would also be able to choose a non-traditional sport to participate in for 10 weeks and a traditional sport to participate in for 10 weeks. So thank you for your consideration, and I will send, I didn't bring it with me tonight, but I can email the full proposal to contract services with the City of Fraser for this program, if that's something you might be interested in. But for tonight, you can consider the use of CDBG dollars for those scholarships. Any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem Shornack?
Yeah, actually, I did.
Sure.
Do you guys have a place where people can donate gently used equipment?
Yes,
Because
that's-
I have a ton of it.
Absolutely, that's a great question. That was a continuation of the Sportport. So we received donations of sports equipment, new sports equipment for the Sportport Lending Library, but to keep that going and again to lower the cost, we're going to be adding to that equipment by asking for gently used sports equipment to be donated. So yes, definitely, we will take that.
Okay, I have a question. You said 25 scholarships?
Yes.
How do you determine who's available or applies for those scholarships?
Yeah, so we'll work with the municipalities on promoting the program for registration, and then it will be income eligibility for the scholarship. But even for families that don't meet that low to moderate income, we're expecting this program to only cost about $60 per youth because we're doing this cost sharing by using multiple municipalities, philanthropic funding. We have some corporate support interest as well. Again, trying to pilot a way to try to help lower the cost of recreation programming and increase access.
Any questions?
So if a family's interested in your program from Fraser, where would they go to act, because we don't have a Parks and Rec department right at the moment, where would these types of sports activities be located at?
Yeah, so actually, the Breaking Barriers, it's a coalition. So we would ask someone from Fraser to serve on that coalition to help us figure out the best way to connect residents to that program through their municipality. So we are working with a software developer to develop an app or a website to streamline it across, so it makes it as easy as possible to sign up for those programs. But we'd really be working with each municipality to find out the best way to do that for your residents, to make sure that they can sign up for the program.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in, and we appreciate
Thank you, and I'll send that information after.
Please do, absolutely. Anybody else at this time? I see none. I will close. Is this all I have? Okay, I'll close the public hearing at 6:55 PM. Mayor Pro Tem Shornack?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to allocate out of our CBGB funds left, 4,800 to Care House, 1,000 to the Interfaith, 1,000 to McRest, 450 to Wigs for Kids, and 1,000 to the Advancing Macomb.
Second.
That comes to the 8,250.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, but the 9,000 minus, because it's already taken out if you look at our bottom of our page. Look at that last page. It's already subtracted because it's actually 9,750 minus the 1,500. See? That's our spending. Is that correct?
So the county has changed things this year, and unfortunately, the minimum
Minimum is
that we can provide to any community is 1,500. So we can't go below 1,500 for any one organization, which makes the math a little bit easier.
Not really. Well, yes, but
So
no.
you have to redo your
Yeah,
math.
okay, fine. Where's my phone? Well, then I guess that would have to eliminate one.
Can I ask a question?
You sure can. Councilman Baranski.
So the spreadsheet that we got that gives us, I guess, suggested amounts, or what, is this what we gave last? I'm not following.
Some of it is, yes.
Because so we have discretion, though? I can't remember which ones we had to give as they allocated them versus we have discretion. This one we can give to any of the charities on this list?
Yes.
as long as to equal the total amount that we have to gift. Got it, okay.
But no less than 1,500.
But no less than 1,500, got it. Okay, thank you.
No, you have to go 1,500 or more.
And the
Can't
mo-
go under
what they
1,500.
asked. yeah.
So the three we had here were Interfaith,
Okay, well,
Care House, and
okay.
Councilman Odell?
My thoughts on it, we have 5 groups here that took the time to submit to City of Fraser directly. If we split it 5 ways, it's $1,650 apiece. Just my opinion, I think if they took the time to submit and come here, we should split it 5 ways between the 5 that submitted, which is Advance Macomb Foundation, Care House, Interfaith, Macomb County Rotating Emergency Shelter, MCREST, and Turning Point. That'd just be my opinion on it. I apologize. That's all right. I just wanted to comment, I think that we should give priority to the organizations that took the time to submit to the City of Fraser directly, which were Advance Macomb Foundation, Care House, Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers, MCREST, and Turning Point. We have $8,250 to split. If we split it 5 ways, that's $1,650. I think, in my opinion, that would be the better way to go, but since we have to do a minimum of $1,500 per charity. Or nonprofit, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Sutherland?
Sounds to me, though, like that would be a significant reduction in the funds that would go to Care House.
Yeah.
That would be my only concern with that, especially if they're counting on it. Oh, is it off?
No,
It's on.
You have to
Oh,
lean, yeah.
I'm not talking to it. Yeah, that would be a significant reduction to Care House. That would be my only concern with that, especially if it's something that they're historically used to getting. I think that we might want to talk about allocating them differently. If we have to get 1,500, we can figure out what the math would be there and pull from other areas, but I don't know that I'm.
Well, then, I was going to say.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornick.
Well, I was going to redo that then. But I would still go for 4,800 for Care House, because as much as I think sports and outdoor activities are important to kids, I think that Care House provides a service that is fundamental to kids' mental development. And when they go through something that they address there, the gravity of what they do for these children is so much more important than participating in a sport. That's why I would still then say 4,800 to Care House, then 1,625 to Interfaith, and 1,625 to Advancing Macomb. I would change my original motion.
Councilman Winowicki.
I would second what Mayor Pro Tem Shornack has stated in her motion.
Councilman Baranski.
Okay, so then you're not giving to, on your motion, you would not be giving to Turning Point or the, who was the other one?
McRest or Wigs for Kids. We don't get enough in CBGB funds to do that.
I got it, okay, so the 3 that appeared today is.
Correct.
Got it.
They're all worthy.
They're all worthy.
Without a doubt.
You got, and we
somebody
only
Without a
have,
doubt,
yeah,
but-
no, I'm just trying to follow the math.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Blanky.
Well, we've had 2 members already recognize the fact of the good, which they all are. Everybody has their purpose. But we've been sort of through the years that I've been up here, and Mayor Carnegie, we've always, with the Care House, because of the affiliation with Fraser, more or less more saturated type thing, more of a commitment to the community. So I'm just going to give my 2 cents on that I agree with that philosophy. Thank you.
So was yours actually a motion?
Mine was, and then I kind of rescinded the first one and then said the second one, and then Dave seconded.
So would you restate your motion? please,
Yes,
for the
I
record?
make a motion.
I'm just trying to check the math here, so 4,800 for care.
And
In the
16.
math here, it looks like it would leave 3,450. Split that in half, 1,725 for each of the other 2? Can someone just double check that math?
Yep,
before I
hold
get
on.
to the motion? Thank you.
Nope, 1625. Oh, wait, nope, my bad. hold on, yep, no, you're right. Oh, you're right, 1725 each. You're correct, I'm sorry. It's, yep, so $4,800 to Care House, $1,725 to Interfaith, and $1,725 to Advancing Macomb.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions on that motion? Comments, questions from the audience? I see none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for everybody for coming out. We appreciate it. We wish there was more in the kitty for everybody, but there's just not, and they don't give us very much. So thank you again for taking the time and doing for what you guys do out there to help the kids.
There is one more thing for consideration for the CDBG funding. Outside of the public hearing for the service activities, we're also looking to potentially tap into some of the capital money that they have. We got a proposal for doing an electronic sign over at the senior center, and this is something that, this is money above and beyond. And the county is really looking for people to put in applications for capital projects because last year they didn't even get enough applications for the money that they received. So I think we would have a good chance of getting funded if we were to put in an application for that electronic sign for the senior center. You do have the proposal as part of that, and just looking to see if you are interested in making that part of your motion as well.
Absolutely.
You could do it as an additional, different, separate motion.
Yeah, and we talked about it, to trying to be as close to similar to what we have there. That way they all interface with each other and everything works the same, so. Councilwoman Baranski.
Well, that was going to be my question, was I saw the estimate, I didn't see any photographs or design understandings, because I wanted to know
So we
visually.
got the quote from Sinorama, and we asked them to match what we have existing.
Okay.
The only upgrade would be that it would be a color and upgraded, like the electronic display portion, but the rest would be like what we have.
Got it.
Here at City Hall.
And is the way the grant would work that how we bid it is what we have to have? Or is it, let's say in the application, we discover something that would be better, but still in the same price range? I'm not saying, I'm just wondering how it works for this, because I'm 100% in favor of free money, always.
We would have to put in an application based upon the estimate that we have and for that amount.
Got it, okay.
Councilwoman Sutherland?
I just have a question. So what other capital improvements were considered before selecting the sign at the senior center?
That was the only thing that we really came up with. If anybody else has any other ideas, then that would now would certainly be a time to address something like that.
Because it looked like in our packet that there were other things that could be considered towards
there are.
those funds.
Yeah. When I spoke with the representative at the county, I asked about this and if it was something that would be eligible. So there are very specific parameters about what you can do for community development block grant funding. They either have to be for low-to-mod or in a low-to-mod area or in a underserved population or low-income population, which senior activities in the senior center really are the most easiest clear thing that we would be able to use community development block grant funds for. We don't have a area in the city that would qualify specifically for community block grant. So really, it's more so focusing on the activity and the group, which is the seniors, as a recognized group that qualifies.
What is the deadline for the?
For the application, I believe it's
February 20th.
February 25th.
So we've got a minute. Barely, a minute.
A minute, yeah. We still have the meeting in February where we could potentially put together some type of application, but we would need to have all of the information and everything relatively ready to go so that you would be able to vote and get that approval for the application.
I think that my concern there is just that, I mean, I hear everything that you're saying, but mean, we're still working on park signs, you know what I mean, for the other parks, and
That's not something that would be eligible.
right, but I'm just saying, no, to have like consistency though, like, so if we're talking about a design or what we're building and what we're doing, if there are other things that potentially that this grant money could be used for, I'm just wondering if we could find something else that would fit the parameters that,
We've got time.
Okay.
We've got time.
Okay.
So certainly, anybody has any ideas, contact me. I can either put someone in touch with someone at the county. We can see if it's something that might be eligible and go from there. One thing about our notice for the public hearing is that we did put in there the capital that we could potentially go for up to 150,000. Not that we necessarily would, but it did leave the door open
Yeah, let's
for
take-
something above and beyond.
wonderful, thank you.
And the senior centers have a high level of success for getting these grants, so it's a good place to put our bet at this point.
And remember, this is capital only.
Yeah.
It's not services.
Right.
All right.
Councilman Odell?
Just a couple questions. This is something that we can apply for every year, correct?
Community Development Block Grant Funds?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And then,
As long as they have money.
right, as long
True,
as there's
as
funding.
long as the federal government
right.
does.
Keeps doling it out, right, exactly. Can this be used for senior center housing improvements that we're continually upgrading the senior, or not senior center, I'm sorry, the senior housing development? Because I know we've been upgrading balconies, things like that. Are these funds that could be used to help upgrade that building, or would that fall out of the parameters?
I'm not sure. I have to believe that it's probably not eligible because I know that we've made quite a bit of investment there, and it would have been something that in the past we should have been applying for if it was eligible. I will certainly look into that, but I doubt it
Okay.
because it has to be for a group, and if you have individual units, then you
I
really-
just think it's because it's a low housing cost, development, so.
I'll definitely look into that and see
Okay.
if that's an eligible expense.
And then the sign, does it have to be specifically to the senior center, or could it be for the city itself, for other activities going on in the city, or is it specifically got to be senior center
Got to be senior. Everything for the senior center has to be senior, period.
for this specific grant? Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornack.
Because it says handicap barrier removal. So been wanting for a bazillion years to continue the sidewalk on Park. I think it's Park, right? Where the McKinley Park is? Yeah. So and I know we have to get permission from the homeowners, but there is a disconnect for that sidewalk, which is really dumb considering it doesn't get to the park and people have to ride in the street and everything else. I think that would be finally a great thing if we could get money to finish the rest of that sidewalk to connect it to that park. That would be brilliant.
From where?
Because honestly, I
It's
mean,
done.
huh?
It's
It was done?
There's only part that isn't done is from Cindy north to Masonic after that first corner house. So there's one house that isn't, but yeah, the two on whatever that street is,
Okay,
they've
'cause
been
I
done.
drove
We
by and I didn't- maybe it's 'cause it was
paid for
done.
that. We nicked
Oh,
that.
okay,
yeah.
fine.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but.
No, that's
I'm
fine.
with you.
I was just trying to think, like,
You
where
forgot
else
what we
could
accomplished last year.
I know, right? I actually drove down there the other
2
day.
years, actually.
When it was snowy, so I probably just missed it. But anyway,
I can see
whatever.
if that's something that would be an acceptable cost because there may likely be other areas throughout.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like any place where the sidewalk, there's a disconnect where we could make it safe for everyone. It would be seniors and children. We could double dip there and make it so that they could walk safely.
And I believe that that's something that you have to have in a low to mod area. And because we don't have any low to mod areas,
We do.
I don't think that they meet the federal standard right now.
Oh, we do. I think so. I would think so.
I'm going to defer to
The
Elaine.
representative that I was talking to from the county said that we have any, but
I'd love to see those numbers. Food for thought.
Councilman Winowicki.
Yes, my question is that the quote that I'm looking at here from Sinorama is for a total of $32,225. And we're applying for $45,722. Am I missing something?
there were, I think, a couple options in there as part of this.
I think the different displays.
If you look at item number 3, the electronic message center, there are different prices in there. So we figured go for the better one. So that adds to that bottom line.
So we-
Number on the bottom line is just kind of the lower end.
So we went for the option 6 mm full color.
Yeah.
That is the one.
Yep.
All set, Dave? Councilwoman Baranski.
Yeah, I guess the only other question I have, do we have to put it all together in one bid proposal, or can we do multiple bid proposals for grants? In other words,
Multiple.
so in other words, there's no reason to delay this, but in the meantime, put our thinking caps on, and if we can get more, tap into it. So if that's the case, I'll make a motion to approve submission of this request for a grant proposal as outlined in the packet.
Second.
I believe they wanted them separate.
It makes sense that they would, yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Sutherland had a comment?
I said one other thing. So we had talked about in our January 6th meeting, the potential also of looking into options for the senior center no longer being specific to seniors and what that would look like and what we potentially need to do.
800
So
million. I mean, 8 million, sorry.
It's
Well-
about 1.5 million.
that's a big difference.
When
So,
would that
but we had talked about that potential, you know what I mean? So that's another thing. Is so we're gonna put a new sign up there that says Senior Activity Center and then maybe find a way to have it not be specific to senior activities anymore. That's just another thing that I think that we should think about.
Well, it would also add to the bottom line. So if we say wanted to pay off the federal government, get rid of the restrictions for senior for that building, right now we're at like around 1.5 million. This would be really adding another like 45,000 to that number. So every time you get another grant and invest in the senior with all these stipulations that it can only be used for senior, if you want to get out from under that, you would have to pay back all of these grants that we've gotten through the years.
Which, yeah, that's all. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. Any comments and questions on the motions from the audience? Any from council? I see none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All set with that, Elaine? Seven B1, Ms. Baranski, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session. Discuss federal court case number 2017 CV 11813.
A motion, a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yep. Any opposed? No? And do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bransky,
Yes.
Councilmember Blanky,
Yes.
Mayor Carnegie,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Dowd,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornack,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Councilmember Winawiki.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go into closed session at 7:15 PM.
You're kidding over here.
Sit for a minute.
Again? Okay, you're gonna have to tell me that after this. You're gonna have to give me the 411.
I don't really.
I'll call the meeting back to order at 7:42 PM. Councilwoman Baranski?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, oops. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city's defense counsel to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions on that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilwoman Baranski.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to consider a written legal opinion of the city attorney exempt from discussion or disclosure.
Okay, we have a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
Second, could you call a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ransky,
Yes.
Councilmember Blanky,
Yes.
Mayor Carnegie,
Yes?
Councilmember Odell,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornak,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Councilmember Winawiki.
Okay, we'll go into closed session at the 7:43.
Come on, Ryan.
Last time I tried to crush you.
Have a good night, Ryan.
Take care, Ryan. I'd like to call back the meeting to order at 9:51 PM. Councilman Baranski.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilmember Sutherland and Councilmember Baranski to work with the city manager and the labor attorney as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions on that motion? I see none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. We're on 7C, HVAC estimates of costs. Ms. Levin, you have the floor.
We've actually got Mike Vigner on here for, I think it's the next 3 items to do a summary of them and respond to any questions that you may have.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. What we have before you tonight is, I guess, kind of a deep dive into the budgeted item for replacing 4 air handler units in the rooftop air conditioning HVAC system at this facility. Mr. Ragsdale asked us to assist in preparing bid documents for the budgeted item, and we started to get into it a little bit. And after meeting with city staff and listening to Mr. Ragsdale's recommendations for an open source control system, we did a little bit more investigation and found that the proposed replacement of the air handlers is probably not going to address any of the existing heating and cooling issues that we've been hearing about for a number of years at this facility. And based on the age of the units and some of the compatibility issues, I guess we're recommending that council consider either a budget amendment in this year or maybe some additional money budgeted for next year to look at some other options to address the HVAC system at this facility. So we worked with Peter Basso Associates, who is a mechanical engineering consultant, and they did an investigation and they prepared a report which was attached to our letter, and their findings and summary are also included. Our recommendation is that the rooftop units, all 5 of them, are replaced. All the controls are upgraded, and the boiler system receives some attention as well. The total project cost estimate for the recommended improvement is $490,000. We understand $200,000 was budgeted in this year for replacement of the air handlers. And I ask for your consideration in that more robust project. If it's council's desire to stick with the project that's been budgeted in this fiscal year, then we would proceed with replacing the air handlers as originally proposed.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornack.
Yeah, my question was this. I thought we could use, because we discussed the COVID funds, because they are very restricted. Is the 290 from the COVID funds, or can we then subsidize some of the COVID money and put 200 towards this to finally fix this situation in this building?
Yes, we can use the funding for that.
Okay, so the 290 was coming out of the general fund, and we could take the other 200.
Take the whole thing, actually.
We could take the whole 490 out of the COVID money. I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Councilman Winowicki.
Yeah. Are the control systems, is this a proprietary system?
The current one is, and Mr. Ragsdale was desire to make that an open source system so that he can have more vendors service the city.
Councilman Odell.
I assume the new units will be more energy efficient than.
Correct.
Do you have a rough idea, percentage savings that we would have?
I do not. I
or-
could probably get that information for you, but it might be dependent on the particular unit that's eventually chosen.
You're talking about units that are 22 to 25 years old.
Right.
that
Well,
were
I know that'd be
replaced.
more energy
Your SEER-
efficient.
Yeah, your SEER ratings are way, way better.
Hopefully it'll pay for itself.
So Mike, what's exactly wrong with this system when, like this room now feels like we're outside, and an hour and a half ago, I was ready to take off my sweater. So what's
Yeah,
exactly?
and I, this really is my area of expertise, so I'll do the best I can to explain. I think there's a combination of factors that have kind of led to where we're at now. The controls are old and antiquated. There's a lot better systems that have been developed over the last 22 years that would better serve the city's needs. But yeah, when you've got one office with air conditioning on and the next one with a space heater, something needs to be fixed.
It's been like that since they did this building, though.
Yeah, it's been since day
Since
one a
the
mess.
inception. It's been horrible.
Is there anything that's any good in the new system, something that we could recycle or possibly?
Is there any copper?
Or maybe we can look into that.
I don't know. It's just it's a lot of money knowing what this building cost 20-some years ago, then that's a big chunk of it right now, so. Okay, that's all I have, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I see it. Councilman Shornack?
I want just a clarification on something first. So we already budgeted 290 to come out of the general fund, correct, Elaine?
200.
200 is currently.
200 currently.
Oh, 200. So we can take the 290 then out of the, how much do we have in COVID funds?
So we're getting 1.5 million. And that's for the ARPA. That's something that we would have to have a plan and spend all of that money by, I think, at the end of 2026. The federal government finally issued some final clarification on the rules for spending that money. And this still is certainly right in there as something that's an allowable expenditure. One of the other things that we talked about was about $1 million for a retention basin, and that also is something that's still allowable.
Okay. Well, with that, then I would make a motion that we move forward with getting a whole new system with warranties, that it works. And that we take the 200 that we've allocated from the general fund and take 290 out of the COVID money. That would be my motion, to upgrade our HVAC system in this building.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments or questions on the motion from the audience? I see none. Any comments, questions from council? I see none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, resolution number 2022-1, addition of Clearview Drive to local roads.
So this is related to the extension of Clearview that was constructed as part of the Fieldstone South site condominium. There were 6 houses that were added at the south end of Clearview Drive. The developer has satisfied the city's requirements for construction of a road meeting city standards. And at this point, we are recommending that council pass the resolution accepting the road. This will allow the Act 51 Street Administrator, Mr. Ragsdale, to submit to the state for funding on an annual basis for the road. It's about 180 feet. At the current rate of disbursement, it's only $150 a year, but the road was planned to be a public road. And at this point, we're recommending that the council consider adopting the road into the local road program, local street network.
It continues the same name, right? No name change.
It does, correct.
Councilman Winowicki?
Yes, I'd make a motion to approve the resolution number 2022-001 for the addition, to acquire title to Clearview Drive.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mayor Pro Tem Shornack?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not going to have that same problem that we had over on Sunrise, where it wasn't, the base was not laid correctly and it shifted into homes and we had all that going on.
Yeah, the section of Clearview that was extended was built to the current city standards, which are different than from the standards that were in place at the time Sunrise was constructed. And again, the time that road was built, there was an anomaly in the materials that were being used throughout the state of Michigan that caused premature joint failure. we test for that anomaly now, and we make sure that the concrete mix that's provided is not as susceptible to that reaction.
But it's done on the correct base as well, right?
Correct. Yes, it is.
Just want to make sure.
It's
We do
also,
not want to have that problem
it's
again.
a stub street too, so any frost or anything moving, it's gonna go into the fields. It's not gonna push anything out of the
Yeah,
way.
but it's still going to be a cost to the city.
Ms. Levin?
Nope, it was me. Oh, it's my light. Just a quick question.
Oh.
I'm just curious, who's maintaining it now, and when would the city's obligations start? Do we know? If we're not the ones maintaining it now?
Correct. As of, since the road was built, the developer's been responsible for maintaining it, plowing snow, salting. If those items were being performed, they were performed by the developer.
So do we know when that transition would occur? Does the developer have more time still taking care of a road that will become ours? Do we know?
No, I think effective the passing of this resolution, the city takes ownership of it.
Now, we did have multiple residential complaints on that street about dirtiness and the garbage. Was that resolved at this point? Do you know?
Yeah, that was all related to the construction. I know there were a number of code violations that were issued from the building department. Drainage, yeah, those items have been addressed.
We do have a motion and a second, correct? Any comments or questions on the motion? Anyone from the audience? Sir? Could you please come forward? You have to come forward and state your name, address.
You have to wait to get to the microphone, sir. Sir, you have to come to the microphone? Yep, sorry.
So I'm really waning. Anthony Ludlow again. I'm at 34650 Clarkston West, condo number 44, Pinewood Estates. Now, in my knowledge, I'm not with the engineer here, what came into my mind was not concrete, how much it would be cost if you run it with bauxite concrete. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
I don't.
The street's already built.
These bauxite concrete out in the countries, it holds fairly well. It's like a stone laid in with a mixture of asphalt usually. It's more, it might not, it might hold, it might not. The question is when Ms. Shornack mentioned that questionability of material, put it back to this gentleman, but I'm just throwing in something that I know, or I've seen it on my own. So whether you want to take it, not just what I know. That's it, I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions from council? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. East Senior Center parking lot.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is another item that there was a line item in the budget this year. Just a side note, in the senior housing facility budget, there was a note for, and my letter, I think, incorrectly states $200,000. The note says $150,000 for parking lot repairs. Again, discussing this with Mr. Ragsdale, we didn't see that that was enough to adequately correct the issues that we're seeing in that facility, the parking lot there. For long-term sustainability, certainly a reconstruction project would be what we would recommend. We've presented a couple other options for consideration. In discussions with Mr. Ragsdale, he particularly likes option 4. The worst area where we're seeing the base failure, where it really needs to be reconstructed, is kind of the loop road behind the facility on the south side and east side, where the garbage truck makes a few trips a week and really has destroyed that pavement and base. That area really needs to be reconstructed. The rest of the parking lot, we feel a lot more comfortable doing more of a rehabilitation, just taking off the asphalt surface without getting into the base too extensively. And we feel that that would be a good compromise on the dollars. We do also note that the budget did mention that they weren't sure if the $150,000 was even available, and that some of that money may need to be bonded. So items for consideration, we want to make sure that we're bringing something to council that was in this year's budget, at least for discussion, or possibly for additional budgeting considerations for next year, and bringing a project forward or bringing some consideration forward for an item that was on the budget.
Okay. Councilwoman Baranski.
Okay, so I guess that was my first question is, to me, when I looked at the different options, it didn't make sense to spend half to get half-life, maybe. But this is all going to come out of the enterprise fund. Do they have the money between this year's budget and next year's budget to do the whole thing over the right way to get that 20 to 25-year life expectancy? Who would tell us that?
I do not have the budget information right now.
Okay.
That's something I was working with Sarah on, that we were going to be going through the budget, making sure things were charged to the right line items,
Got it.
checking all of those funds. But since she's been out for over a week now, we weren't not able to get to that for this meeting.
Yeah, so I definitely am in favor of doing it right, doing the entire thing, and then allocating it between the 2 years. That's the beauty. And then obviously I understand we need to get it going sooner. When would we need to? We can't do it, though, until we know we have the funding for it. But if we told you by February, would that be adequate timing to then get this in the hopper to?
Yeah, I think that would be adequate time to get something going later summer, early fall.
Okay.
Which would be a good time frame for that. The parking lot type projects, there's a lot of contractors that do a lot of schoolwork, and they've got a very small window, and they always look for projects at the end of the construction season to kind of backfill their workload.
Okay, so I'm in favor, assuming the money is there.
Councilman Winowicki.
Yeah, in the option one reconstruction, which I think is the one that you're talking about to get to the 25
Yeah.
years. Do you feel there's a need to remove all the aggregate? I mean, has full depth reclamation been considered?
We could look at that certainly as an option, and looking at the deterioration in the condition of the surface again, that is a very good option. Full depth reclamation, there would probably be some material that would need to be adjusted, but we can certainly look at that.
And that, you feel that would bring it down from the 350 to 4?
Certainly, yes, yeah.
Okay, there's more to come on this one.
Yes.
As we get the budgeting going and understand the numbers, we will see if we can get that on the upcoming agendas.
Is that enough direction for you right now?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Don't let her forget about it, right?
Thank you.
Okay, item F, resolution 2022-002 for liquor license permit, free play.
Thank you, Mike.
So they are looking to change the classification of the existing liquor license that they have from a tavern license to a Class C license. We currently have 10 retail on-premises licenses allowed and 10 issued. This is one of those 10. What it is just an upgrade, and it changes the restrictions. A tavern license allows them to sell and serve beer, wine, and mixed spirit drinks for consumption on the premises. Whereas a Class C license allows a restaurant or bar to sell and serve beer, wine, mixed spirit drink, and spirits to customers. It does not specify whether it be on-site or not, and it has spirits as opposed to only mixed spirit drinks, so it allows for both of those. So that would be the change. I did discuss this with Bisbee. He does not see any issues with changing the classifications. We've already done background checks on the people with business, and this is something that is required by the state for local jurisdiction to approve.
Mayor Pro Tem Schornak.
Well, as long, my question was gonna be, did we have anything from, the police with regards to any issues? So with that being said, since you said no, I would move the resolution of the 2022-02, oh, sorry, 2022-02 for the liquor license permit. 002, I'm sorry, 002. For the liquor license permit at Free Play.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Baranski.
You may have said this, and I apologize. Are we limited in any capacity to this new classification?
So this is like just kind of a lateral change.
Okay.
So we have 10 licenses allowed, 10 licenses have been issued. This is one of those 10. It's just laterally changing the type of it. It's
All
not
right.
adding any new license.
Yeah, because ironically, this was the last piece of in-person business that we did. And we literally were getting texts about the schools closing as we were here. So I'm so happy. I think that's you, right? I'm like, I'm so happy you're still here in business. Thank you for sticking it out through COVID. I can't imagine the timing was horrible, but I just wanted to acknowledge that, you know, we're almost 2 years now, right? So that's an accomplishment for that. So thank you for clarification.
Are you doing any food yet at the play? Oh, carried in? Oh, okay. You know, we had council people last time, looking forward to that, seeing it grow.
Nice. That makes Green Lantern happy, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions from the audience? Back to council, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work. Okay. Item G, ordinance 2022-001, smoking on or near city property.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you is a draft of a smoking ordinance as directed by council, I believe, 2 or 3 meetings ago. We had talked at that meeting about a resolution that I had prepared, but the will of the council at that time seemed to be to move forward with something with a little bit more teeth for enforceability by our police and code enforcement people. So the draft before you is pretty much what the resolution was. I didn't do a whole lot to it. I think one of the suggestions at the time had been to add vapor products, which is, you know, vaping and e-cigarette type things. So that is included as well, because those do sometimes create either an odor or a mist or something from them. The proposed penalties would be just like they are now for our civil infractions throughout the city for all other infractions that are not crimes, which the first offense is $150 if you're caught violating the rules. Obviously, signage is a part of that because the city would have to advise people where that isn't or where it is permitted, away from the buildings and the windows and the openings. But with that, since it's pretty much the same thing I presented the last time, certainly open for changes or suggestions or thoughts about what's in it, or a motion to approve it and get it on the books. Then it would be enforceable moving forward.
We can get this one done and check it off the list,
Right?
right? Are there any questions, comments from council?
I just have one question. I was just wondering if the including the vaping, if there have been complaints from the residents at the senior housing regarding vaping as well, or if that was just language that was put in there based on direction of council.
I can't speak to any complaints. I don't know if city manager or anybody else knows of
I
any.
think it was just language. I have not heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think council was concerned about it because it does create sort of an appearance when the mist and everything is moving around the building or in the building or outside the windows. So I
Right.
think that was the concern.
I think discussion at one of the previous meetings was the vaping, some of them do actually emit a smell,
Sure.
Yeah.
and that can be offensive to some people.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor? I think that was actually my suggestion, and also, when you're creating an ordinance, it should be as inclusive as possible, so, I don't know, and that actually begs the question then, did we define smoke as cigarettes, pipes?
in there.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that was in case vaping wasn't included, and not to say that our seniors are vaping now, but based on trends, in 10 years, they will be, unfortunately, you know, so that was my thought process, not that it's an immediate complaint, but when you're doing it,
Right.
cover it all.
Makes sense.
distance is also included within 100 feet. So all of the, I think he covered all the bases that were being requested.
Well, if there's no other questions, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the smoking ordinance as submitted. Mr. Odell, your light one on?
I just had a real quick question. As far as the senior housing, who's enforcing that smoking ordinance if there's complaints or things of that nature?
That would be our staff that's on site, and if they need additional assistance, then they would get the police officers on.
Well, okay. Thank you.
So we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any comments or questions on the motion from the audience? Back to council, any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Don, for wrapping that up for us. Appreciate it.
One thing off your plate.
We'll add more, don't worry. Wait for new business.
Another day that ends in Y.
Item H, Compensation Commission Report. Ms. Levin, you have that report.
The Local Officials Compensation Commission Board met back in December, and they reviewed what some of the other communities surrounding us are currently making for their council or similar commission. They took a look at what we are currently paying for the mayor and council members as well, along with the meeting compensation and also the fee for weddings. And they found the fees that we have are consistent with the going rate right now and did not recommend any changes. There's no further action necessary by you. This is for your information.
Okay,
You don't have to file it?
you can file it. Go ahead, Amy.
So I think it's important that our residents know in case they don't have the packet. So therefore, as the mayor of the City of Fraser, and all of your obligations, you make $4,531 before taxes, plus $75 per meeting, regardless of how long they last. Council members make $3,835 before taxes, also then get the additional $75 per meeting.
No matter how.
Again,
No matter how long they last, which unfortunately,
Or how many we have.
or how many, well, yeah.
You're only
or
allowed
we
to have
get per
18.
meeting. Yes, they
Anything
are.
above that.
But I just think it's important that we make it clear, we're not getting a raise. This is the same thing, I believe, probably for,
Decades,
yeah, it's a
Long
long time.
at least a decade for sure.
And I'm fine with that. I didn't take this, or I didn't win this position to make money, but
Actually, there was a reduction, wasn't it, 5 years ago? That it went from, it was like 5 years ago, that it went from
yeah, 150 or to 75.
150 a meeting to 75, which we were fine with too.
I think it comes down to about $4.10 an hour or something.
Over the
The-
2 years, it was way less,
I know.
50 cents an hour.
The clerk stated that this goes back to like 1998.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
No inflationary raise for us.
We all do it for the love of our city.
Or pure insanity.
Resemble that remark.
I said no one commented after I said that. Item I, SEMCOG appointment. There's Mr. Lessig was the main person for SEMCOG. I said as the alternate, but now Mr. Lessig is, we have new council people we need to nominate and get another one, I believe.
Right, so for SEMCOG, there's actually a delegate, which is required to be an elected official, and also an alternate, which it can either be an elected official, staff, or any other individual. So I think previously had been the city manager, had been the alternate. That can always change. One thing about SEMCOG is that they generally do meet during the day, and it's 3 times a year. They have their kind of fall and actually I think like winter and summer meetings, and then there's usually always an additional meeting sometime in there. If you're on any type of subcommittees, you could participate in that as well, and that would just be additional time served with SEMCOG.
So we're looking for a volunteer.
I think you might also want to just solidify that alternate. I don't know if you want that to be me, because I have never been actually officially appointed, or if there's someone else that is on the board that's willing to serve as the alternate, or another resident person that you want to serve as.
Well, I was the alternate, but I only went, like, if Mr. Lessig couldn't make it, or some functions where it was a city thing, we both went to them, but that's, I've only
And
done,
if you're still willing to serve as the alternate, and
I've only done, had
everybody
a
is
couple
fine with
things
that,
a year.
I'm fine with that as well.
It's open, if anyone would like to broaden their horizons, it's,
It's a great organization.
it is, really is. Mr. O'Dell, would you like in?
I'll put my hand in the ring to be a representative for SEMCOG. Council.
Third.
Is there anybody else?
Oh, quick.
Okay,
Thank you.
we have a volunteer. And
Congratulations.
We expect a very good report.
Mr. Mayor, will you continue to be the alternate?
Sure. Unless somebody else would like to do it, then. Okay.
No, thank you. That was easy.
Favor?
I seconded his motion.
That is a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Amy.
I did. I seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item J, macro appointment.
So this is another organization that Mr. Lessig served on, and he was actually the chair. They have since had a replacements for that position, but we are still looking for a City of Fraser representative for this organization. They typically meet during the day. It's usually about 2 o'clock on the same day that we have our council meetings. They are still currently virtual. They did cancel their meeting this month, so tentatively the next meeting would be in February on the same day that we have our meeting.
Councilwoman Sutherland.
All right, I want to throw my hat in the ring for macro.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Just keep us up to date on things. And
I will.
Too.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, now it's at a quarter.
$2.85 an hour.
There's no extra money for that.
Item
I'm paid
K,
experience, right? There.
amended of audit engagement letter to Yo and Yo.
So back in August, we approved this engagement letter with Yo and Yo to do our audit, and we actually did it for the amount of $40,000, which included both the audit, and at that time, we anticipated that we would have to do a single audit for the federal funding that we would be getting. We did definitely determine that there was enough funding from the federal government that we do have to do the single audit. We do not need to approve the amount because you've already approved the $40,000. I am just looking for an approval for the updated letter of understanding. They wanted you to be aware, so they did change that language instead of being if necessary. Now it is just included in there as necessary.
Mayor Pro Tem Schornak.
I would make the motion to accept the amended audit engagement letter from Yo and Yo.
Second.
A motion second. Councilman O'Dell?
Real quick thing, I was noticing on page 7, the fourth paragraph up, they expect to begin the audit June 15th of 2021 and finish it December 15th, 2021, which would have already happened. So are
They
they?
didn't update those dates. obviously.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say,
So we
it's
are-
not completed yet, obviously.
We're
so-
about, last time I saw, I think we're about 87, 88% complete with all of the documentation. And we did file for an extension, and we have until the end of January to get it completed now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My teeth are gonna start chattering.
Item A, returning business senior center janitorial service.
So DPW, and I believe Amy Sell actually even reached out to some companies for janitorial services over at the senior center. As you recall, the assistant city manager, Sarah Mastretta, just kind of jumped in, saw a job that needed to be done, and had been cleaning the bathrooms to make sure that it was taken care of. We did get quotes from a couple of businesses, Premier Business Solutions for $3,200 and Jana King for $2,290. This is for service 2 days a week, and that is the monthly cost. We did solicit a third company. We had a site visit scheduled. They canceled at the last minute. We have reached out to them, and they have not reached back.
We tried for 3 and we got 2.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland.
So those amounts, correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't seem much different than what we got in our first.
The 5-day one?
Yeah.
Correct.
It seems like we're getting less, right? If
Well,
it's 2.
it's down to 2 days.
Yes.
And I think it equates out to,
286.25.
correct, and the other one is 400 a day.
How's it been going with DPW helping out over there? Have they been?
They don't really have the staffing at this
No.
point for them to spend the time to do that.
Today.
Okay. So then what's going on? How is it getting cleaned now?
Sarah is still doing it as she can, yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that when Amy was out of the room.
Yeah.
I would say if I had to ballpark a number, she might spend half an hour a day. She's mostly just tidying up. You know, she's not doing anywhere near as thorough cleaning as what any of these companies would be doing. So she's emptying the trash, she's wiping down surfaces, she's making sure that the bathrooms are cleaned.
How about our person who watches over the senior center? Can they give?
She's capped out at her hours for part-time.
Oh, she-
Yeah. If we were to do anything additional, then, like we've talked about in the past, it would be moving
if
into this full-time position. There would be a lot of other things that we would have to pay in conjunction with the additional.
What if we were to offer like a contract position for that position? Is that,
I don't know that that would work because then you're talking a W-2 employee and a,
contract?
yeah,
And a 1099.
1099, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Odell?
This is, I mean, the lowest bid is almost 28 grand a year for 2 days a week. Why could we not just, I'd rather pay someone overtime, and it's still gonna be a heck of a lot cheaper, and then they're under our insurance and everything like that. Is that something that we could put out there? Because, I'm sorry, 28 grand a year for 2 days a week.
Other options, you know, we've got like seasonal DPW workers. We might be able to get some extra hours there.
I would rather do that than hire a service, at least for I mean, we're still only part-time, 9 to 1. It's not getting that dirty. I mean, it's trash, sweeping. I know wintertime can be a little more with the rock salt and stuff, because I at one time did cleaning like that myself as a side job. So I'd rather pay an existing employee or a temporary employee more hours or budget more hours than to go to an outside service at this cost. It just doesn't make financial sense.
Even if Mark hires another part-timer and he uses it for snow removal and other jobs that DPW needs, it's, make that part of their duties, maybe. But just a thought.
All right, I will get with Amy Sell and Mark Ragsdale and see what kind of options we have for a part-timer.
Councilman Winniwicki?
I agree. I think this is quite a bit of money for part-time. I do know of one company that still hasn't had a return phone call that was interested in bidding it, so I'll pass that number on to you. I think we should explore other options.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornack?
Oh, yeah, I echo the same concerns. So I was going to break it down to hourly and yeah, no.
So at this time, just get with Mark
I
and
will set this
come up with
aside,
other
we'll
ideas.
explore other options.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, I'll volunteer at this point.
And item B, staffing for Parks and Recreation Department. This is a
So-
carryover and.
So, yeah, at this point, I think continuing some of the conversation that we had from our work session, we kind of got, I think, a little bit short with time with so much going on with that work session. It wasn't anything that we were in a position where we could take any action. We've talked quite a bit about staffing for Parks and Recreation. What does something like that look like? I was hoping that we'd be able to have the budget amendments and a better idea on budgets and numbers at this meeting, but unfortunately, COVID has put a little snag in that. So I don't have any good numbers, clear direction on where we are with any of this right now. I don't know how you would like to proceed. I know that Sarah is still moving forward and working with Diane over at the senior center, and they're working on slowly expanding some of the things that we're doing. We still have Hunter in the office that some of her time is spent with recreation activities. I know time is of the essence. The clock keeps ticking, and we need to start doing something. One of the things that we did talk about is if we have events that require a building, that looking at other options, since we can't have things for non-seniors at the senior activity center. We talked about soliciting other companies with their locations, talking to maybe churches, groups like the Lions, other people that have buildings and space that we could potentially use for some events. So I know that Sarah's already kind of started doing a little bit of legwork and reaching out to some of those organizations to see what kind of options we have. Other than that, I would certainly look to you to figure out what our next step is going to be.
And just to follow up on my talk to some of their surrounding communities is ask them for the copies of their recreation plans. They're willing to share them with us. They just want the right person to deal with, that's all. I mean, I can get them, but then I don't know who would want them here, copy and paste and do all that stuff. But
Other cities are willing to share.
they are available. Ms. Sutherland?
So at the last meeting, I know Amy Sell was still going to pursue looking for an approved part-time recreation person, and that was part of our discussion. Do you know if she's been interviewing anybody, how that's going?
I think we do have at least one application. So
Okay.
I don't have any approval to hire any positions at this point. That would be something that would be up to council.
Well, that position was already approved. Yeah. The part-time position was, but we had discussion in the last meeting about talking about the potential of having that be full-time versus part-time and whether or not we should halt the part-time hiring, but then Amy was going to continue to look, so you could have if you wanted to, but I see what you're saying, like, okay.
I just
one
would like to
applicant.
have some clear direction about what to do next with any type of staffing or anything else in regards to recreation.
Well, Amy Sell should at least be, I would think, gathering resumes and applications, because when you do pull the trigger, you don't want to start that process all over again and take weeks and weeks and weeks to do it.
For part-time or full-time?
Either or,
Okay.
either
You
or.
would get a very different pool of people that would be looking for either part-time
Right.
or full-time.
But it's just, it doesn't cost us anything to have people send them their resumes. Maybe a little bit of time for Amy to do it, but at least we start the process and get a feeling of, is it gonna be hard to do, or you know, it's like paid on-call firefighters. I think I've gotten 2 applications in a year.
But the posting is currently for part-time,
Yeah.
right? So then we would potentially want to amend that posting then to include something of full-time, because if people see part-time, they're not going to apply. Otherwise, we would be talking to people who applied for part-time and saying, well, hey, there's a chance that it could go full-time, so is that what we're, I mean,
You could post it either way, I would think.
I don't know what message she is conveying to people
Yeah.
when she's been talking to them.
it's posted as part-time. So
Be part-time, possible full, I mean.
it would make sense to me to amend the posting to have it say something to the effect of with the potential to go full-time, or have that be part of the conversation at least. I know if I saw something that was part-time and no indication that it could go full-time, that would definitely prevent me from applying.
Unless you just wanted part-time and didn't want nothing to do with full-time.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. If it says both, then you're going to get both apply. But if it just says part-time,
I don't know that having something hanging out there is going to be something that we would get people that are going to want full-time, because, you know, could it be in a month? Could it be in 6 months? Could it be in a year?
I mean, we had discussed in the working session too, Sarah looking into potentially not a director, but a different position title, and I
Like
know
a
she's been out, she's
coordinator
been
or
sick.
something like
Yes.
that, yes.
And what that salary range would look like. So.
Yeah, I think that Sarah has been working with Amy. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that they've been looking at surrounding groups, and there's a lot of job descriptions and titles out there, yet they kind of all do the same thing. And the pay is kind of all over the place as well. They all do the same thing, but different titles and different pay.
Once we have that information, I think we would be able to narrow it down better as to what we would be willing to.
Well, we also need to really have a good indication where we are with the budget, because like I talked about last time, we've got all new department heads.
Right.
We've got budgets that Sarah and I have not had an opportunity to look at line items, make sure things were actually charged to the correct accounts, because we don't know what Vince had done previously with him coming in from private sector to public. Were things necessarily translating and going into proper accounts? Not saying anything was done wrong, just were they charged to the right account so that we can look at the line item and say we're above or below budget for this line item or this fund? And those are the things that we need to look at so that when we do the budget amendments, we have the accurate information for you guys so that we know where we're spending our money and what going forward we have.
So if you're working on that as well as vetting out what the position title and compensation would look like, you might be able to kind of walk it back into where that would be.
Yeah, I mean, we know that we had money budgeted in recreation, and we know that we haven't spent all of that money, likely, especially when we're talking about wages, because we're still under the whole COVID, and nothing much was really going on. So we know at least for this fiscal year, there are likely some funds still left, but neither Sarah nor I have a good idea going forward about where we are with like fund balance, future spending. So, we know we've got all of these contracts for union negotiations, everything. We need to make sure that at least our general fund, which that's the concern, is the general fund, because this is all out of that we're in a good position financially with the general fund, and we don't want to get into a situation where we're overextending ourselves.
Assuming everyone is healthy, do you think that we might have more numbers at the next meeting?
My last conversation with Sarah is that she should be back on Monday.
Okay.
And like I said, we're still working through the audit. We got, I think, mostly complete with the general part of the audit, but now with this additional single audit for the federal funds, that's kind of put us back in that like 85% range, 88, somewhere around there. So with them trying to find all of these documents that they have no idea where they are, and they're trying to figure out and piece everything together with the new auditing firm as well, it's been taking a lot more time than what it would take, say, next year with seasoned people in place and a seasoned auditor. And certainly, that's the top priority, and I will be having a department head meeting next Tuesday, which will kind of be my kickoff for budget season with department heads.
Mr. Odell.
Last month, we discussed the options. I put the director position out there, and the council decided not to move forward with that action, but I'd still like to see us moving in that direction. And I think we had discussions in the workshop and stuff, maybe having a hybrid director where full-time in the summertime, or I'm sorry, in the wintertime, they're working on senior activities due to COVID restrictions, start working on some recreation programs in the summer, maybe limited, and then maybe expand out from there. I think we could do that at a reasonable amount for employees, because we're going to eventually want the senior center open full-time as well. I assume that's what the council would like to do. So possibly next month come back with what, because I mean, recreation, we haven't spent, I gotta imagine we haven't spent much, and combined, I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 between senior and the rec together. So we should have a good pot of money there that we could at least get maybe instead of a part-time senior person, we do a part-time senior/rec person, jump off from there to get at least some limited activities going, outdoor activities that we can use our parks and things of that nature going forward, whether it's t-ball or some basic recreational programs. So, I mean, I guess I'll ask for a motion again, not as a director, to hire a full-time hybrid position for the senior center and Parks and limited Parks and Recreation moving forward, not to, for a full-time position moving forward to get that direction going. So I'd like to put that out there.
So you want to put it out there, you want to make a motion?
What's that?
That's your motion?
That's my motion, is to hire instead of hiring a part-time senior center worker that we currently have listed, hire a full-time senior center recreation
Like
employee.
non-department head.
Non-department head, correct. So that way we can get some limited activities going in the summertime and actually hopefully expand the senior center hours from the limited amount that they are currently now.
Do we, as part of that motion, have some idea of how much we would be paying for this position?
This is something Amy itself should be involved in here.
That's,
I mean, again, if we're talking about hiring people, HR is going to be involved. We have to understand the budget, what a budget they're going to be assigned to. You have to make sure there's funds in that budget for that assignment. Fringes, salary, all that includes. It's not just, bringing somebody on board and start.
Or how about this? I'll withdraw my motion for now, but next meeting, have those numbers available so we know what we got to work with, and maybe have you and Sarah develop a full-time position that can be hybrid to move it forward.
That's what you need to get HR involved.
Right.
So.
I mean, we already kind of know what we need for the senior center with the part-time position, so let's figure somehow where they could be senior center half the time and recreation the other half, and get something going, and then hopefully that springboards into a bigger, and janitor, yes, and janitorial duties, light janitorial
Other
duties.
duties as assigned.
Right.
And then maybe that position can move forward into a bigger position as we get that ball rolling, get a plan in place, because I believe when we talked to Sarah and you and Amy and all that, we talked about having some sort of idea what the residents want. I don't know if that's been worked on at all yet. I know you guys got a lot on your plate, COVID and all that, but I mean, if we're gonna springboard this, otherwise, like you say, time's going by very fast, and it's gonna be summer before you know it, and we're still gonna have nothing. So I would like to get limited something rather than a whole lot of nothing, so. Okay, thank you.
Pending any more COVID issues.
Well, that's why I'm
I
saying.
think that we can get the budget amendments and have a better idea where we are with the budget for this year, and hopefully moving forward, we'll have a better grasp on kind of the general fund and.
Well, we're still gonna need that senior center open, right? So, I mean, we've got funding,
senior
so
center's open,
we
they've
can
been
concentrate on
expanding.
that right now and then build off of that. And the COVID restrictions aren't gonna be here forever, so if we don't do proper planning, hopefully, so if we don't do proper planning,
Crystal ball.
2 years later.
I mean.
All right, just tell them.
But I mean, other communities still have their Parks and Rec operating in limited, and if we limit it maybe to outdoor stuff for right now, summertime, parents are going to be more apt to have their kids involved with something like that out of school, playgrounds, things like that they've had in the past that would be very easy to put together and low cost. And
Diane that was here this evening talking about CDBG funds for that county park program. We've actually been talking to her to try and find some way to help partner and kind of springboard our recreation moving forward, working with them as well. This is kind of a new thing for them, and they're working on getting communities together, so we certainly want to participate and be a part of that. So we're exploring that as another alternative.
Absolutely.
And just by experience, I mean, what concerns me still, we've gone through a lot of funds in the last year, and a lot of hiring, a lot of different expenses. We really don't know where we're at with the budget, like you said. And I'm a little hesitant now, because not knowing what those numbers, usually we have a pretty good idea heading into this, what we're gonna be facing, and I don't think we really do that at all now. Which,
There's been a lot of drastic changes made in the last year.
and I don't wanna get into something where we just, we do it wrong and we gotta back out of it. If we're gonna get into it, let's do it right, but let's not start something that we can't fix, because, we just spent, almost $500,000 for the building here. I know we're coming forward with a new fire truck this year, which is another over
That's coming out of drug
$500,000.
forfeiture, though.
Yes, it is.
That's coming out of drug forfeiture, that's already
There's
spoken.
a lot of different things.
And spent, what, almost $500,000 on the parks playground equipment this fiscal year as well.
Yep. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of expenses and things.
True, but the budget for those programs was approved by the prior council, so the money, for the most part, should not have been spent yet, so there should be funds available to do something.
So my understanding, I will work with Amy, Sal, and Sarah. We will work on putting together really a job description for kind of hybrid senior recreation, not a director level position, but something that will be below Sarah and will be focusing on the activities for recreation. And then working on kind of a cost estimate about what it's going to be, kind of a range that we'd be paying and what all of those additional costs would be to go along with that position.
That'd be great, thank you.
In conjunction with the budget amendment, so that we have a better idea of where we are financially, hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll know that by then.
Including that light janitorial.
No, other
Other duties as assigned.
duties as assigned, I think is the
Facilities,
private sector, you do what I say and just do it.
Chief pot scrubber.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing that I was going to add is, as you're doing this, and feel free to speak up if anybody disagrees, but don't feel that you have to limit yourself to one either. So, I mean, if you learn by researching other cities and salary ranges, right, that there's more than one way to do it or look at it, I mean, I think it would be a good idea is in the essence of time and looking at the budget to bring us a couple.
Like I said, it sounds like it's a bunch of different titles and pay.
Sounded like it was both.
Everybody's doing the same stuff.
But the titles and the pay you said were.
Yeah. And that's something where,
Right.
working with Amy, she can sort through.
Okay.
that And figure out, okay, maybe, this title, this kind of range, and this title, this is a range.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
looking for a jack of all trades.
Yep. It doesn't really want to make a lot of money.
Exactly.
Get money.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I was going to say, because last meeting, at our regular meeting, we did discuss, because Amy Sal did bring up that hiring a part-timer was more difficult than hiring a full-timer. And we all did discuss bringing on a possible full-timer, but we needed, that was going to say to you, is we need to know all the ins and outs before we do. But the other thing I wanted you guys to know, since you're new, and if, just in case you weren't, paying attention in the other couple of years for budgeting, the money that was being budgeted for Parks and Rec came out of the general fund every year. Okay, I just wanted you to know, because that was, that you said about the 400,000, that was we didn't want to continue that practice moving forward, spending $400,000 from the general fund, because not every resident benefits necessarily from that. So we wanted to make whatever we're going to do with Parks and Recs, at least that was the consensus, we wanted it to be almost self-sustaining. And that's what whomever, and I would think like a coordinator would be an appropriate title for that. A coordinator would have to help Sarah keep that in line and make sure that anything that we're doing is covering its own costs.
Yeah, I think the program should, for the most part, self-fund themselves.
That's what I said.
They're gonna have the overhead of someone to run it and things, but if you only have 3 people, signing up for a program, it's not paying for itself. So
Exactly.
as long as the programs are set up in a way that they are self-funding, for the most part, there's always gonna be a little bit of
Right.
leeway, but for the most part, then I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Baranski.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is I want to see total flexibility, because as much as everyone says you can't get a part-timer, we have an amazing finance employee right now who used to be full-time and is doing a bang-up job part-time, and we asked her to come full-time, and she said, heck to the no, I'm good where I'm at. And so I would want to see all options on the table. And it isn't a matter, and I hear exactly what you're saying about it, it's already in the budget. it's not about it being in the budget. For me, it's about the fact that next year, if it's in the budget, that's PA 33 money. And everyone tries to say that they're not interconnected. They are, because like Patrice said, the general fund is not fully funded without not funding from the general fund, the PSO department, and having Public Act 33 fund that, and then taking that money and putting it into the general fund. So if we don't do Public Act 33, an additional tax, we don't have enough in our general fund to pay for everything. And that's why when we were talking about, so, and we are paying some because part of Sarah's salary is coming out of that. But I am, and that, unfortunately, COVID prevented us from getting the data, because that was the conversation we were hoping to have is, okay, what does it look like? Can we, at this point, justify a full-time, and I talked to you, a recreation coordinator, because it isn't, why does it have to be seniors? And it never used to be. It got separated a couple years ago, and I think most recently, right before I got on council, to justify an additional position. And that's what you guys approved. But to me, it's recreation for all ages. And what, so we need information from, where I'm going long story short, we need information to make sure if we find that perfect candidate who's full-time, to justify the Public Act 33, they are interwoven to me. Always will be, but I'm not, but I appreciate that we have to pay something for recreation, because it is a vital element of our good community, but the least amount we can pay out of the general fund, the best.
Agreed.
Item 9, report of city administration.
All right. First of all, thank you for that clarification, and I should have, I think, something very thorough for you at the next meeting. One of the things that I've kind of been working on since Sarah's been gone, and I've been waiting and hoping for her to come back, is working on some more file organization and contract compilation. So still trying to find all of these outstanding contracts that we have had, not only over like the last year, but also long-term contracts. So I've been working with Cindy on really getting those all in one place and getting my internal office files organized. I still have a lot of work to do with the electronic files, though. My paper ones, I think I can easily put my hands on information in my office now. The server migration is almost complete. For the most part, it's been pretty smooth. We did have just a little blurb with the payroll, with emailing out the payroll slips to all of the employees on payday. For some reason, it didn't recognize the address. We were able to correct that, so I think everything, for the most part, is done. They still have a little bit of migration from the public safety side and the migration for the battery backups, which will require a complete shutdown and turn back on, and I think that they're planning on that maybe Friday night. So hopefully you won't see any disruption with your email. One of the big things that we'll be working on with IT right next is going to be the transition from Google Docs to Microsoft 365. So be on the lookout for that in the future. I would like to congratulate some of our DPW workers who passed their exams for water distribution. Jeremy Dethridge passed his S4, Dan Zukowski passed his S4, and Joe Gregory actually passed the S4 and the S3. Mark Ragsdale, our DPW superintendent, is now the president of the American Public Works Association, Michigan Downriver chapter. So a big step up and accomplishment for him, so I congratulate him and the rest of his group on that. Certainly love to see people getting training and getting in a position where they can help the city and be more beneficial to us. I attended the Historic Commission meeting along with Cindy yesterday. We're trying to kind of figure out how the formation and the rules, procedures, and make sure that they are in compliance with all of the laws for the city. I'll be working with Don on that in the future. I did get a copy of their bylaws. I am typically used to a group like that that is memorialized in an ordinance. That might be something that we will want to consider in the future, but like I said, I'll be working with Don on that and trying to figure out what we should do moving forward with that. As I mentioned, I have a department head meeting next week. It's going to kind of be the kickoff for the budget. One of the things that I will be wanting from them sooner rather than later is information about any significant changes that they are going to have or major purchases for the next fiscal year. So I might be able to actually have some information to report at our February meeting. The chairs that we have talked about, I know we've talked about how uncomfortable these chairs are. Mary has done quite a bit of research. We have kind of 4 similar looking chairs. One of the surprising obstacles that we have is because there is such a low table height for these. Most of the chairs on the market, the arms are too high, so you can't get underneath. We did find some that are either leather, or I think some have like a breathable back that you can actually flip the arms down so you can get right up to the desk if you want to. They're pretty much all in about the $200 range, so I can send you guys a lot more information if you're interested. Just let me know, and we can figure out which one we're going to do moving forward. One thing we kind of talked about is that maybe we could just buy like one chair, see if we really like it, and then if so, move forward with that. So
That's not
200.
good lumbar support, though, right? That's
Yes,
the big thing.
yeah.
Good lumbar support.
good lumbar and good rollers. So I'll send some more information out to everyone and just individually solicit some feedback from everyone on how they feel about that. Other than that, I think that is pretty much all that I have.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Can I just, can't you just make an executive decision as the city manager? I mean,
I can, but this is something that
we're
you guys
all
are going to
only
have to-
temporarily here. These chairs have been here for 25 years.
I know, but who have bad backs, we are the good
so-
test case because
yeah.
we can say like,
But
yep, this is perfect.
I
because
want to
for
see
people
him
who have
here
them.
next meeting. I don't want,
I don't know, I'm comfortable.
I mean, there's no padding left on
I can't
these.
get
This
close.
is
How do you get
literally-
in? I can't.
This is, you can literally feel the tacks and.
If you guys are comfortable, we can go ahead and order them and get them here.
I wouldn't do leather though.
I say do what you please, but
Yeah, I wouldn't do leather.
Pretty much all of them are leather. The only difference is I think one
Real- it's
has
not real leather.
like a breathable
Mesh?
back element. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, if you get
I would
lumbar
do-
support and you can
lumbar
flip
with
down the
mesh.
arms.
Support.
And adjustable arms, yeah, because
yeah, like
this,
2 with a neck holder right here. Just,
okay, that, yeah.
We need you to stay awake here, Mr. Mayor.
Can we make a massaging while we're at it? That's what you're going for.
Shorten these meetings.
There's only one that's mesh. There's only one that's mesh. I have the information here if you want to see me on your way out after the meeting. If I have the okay. we
good, you
can
just do what
go
you
ahead and
gotta
order
do.
it up.
I think anyone that is intimately concerned should address you, but otherwise, get it done.
Okay.
Cross it off the list. That's
great.
my opinion.
yeah, you don't need counsel.
I worked with Mary behind the scenes on a lot of different specifications and stuff and suggestions, so I know she's done a very thorough job.
Very thorough job. Yeah, I have the detailed information here if anyone would like to take a look before they leave.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sutherland, you have the floor.
I do? I'm first? Okay, all right. I don't really have anything new to add tonight, other than I'm comfortable in my chair that I have right now, but that's me. No, I hope everyone had a good holiday, and thank you. I can tell all the hard work that you've been doing, and Sarah, she's been doing a great job at the senior center. I've been getting really good feedback from the seniors. I knew they sold out of chair yoga, or booked it, so they had to add another class, so that was fantastic. But yeah, no, that's all I've got tonight.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Baranski.
Yes, I don't have much. First, I just want to really thank council. I think that this has been a really great collaborative experience. Last week, we had our work session. Although it was long, I learned a lot of language. I wrote Post-its of how to properly phrase things. And I'm really appreciating the collaborative nature. I look forward to continuing this. And now we just have to find a way to reduce the time, but, with time comes good results. The high school, Fraser High School, is having its annual activities night silent auction, February 11th at Vintage House, $30 a ticket, all inclusive, food and drinks, must be over 21. The money raised goes to each of the different classes for their activities through student councils such as prom and homecoming and various things like that. So if anyone is interested, you can reach out to the high school to get tickets. You could reach out to myself to get tickets. It's a great night, a lot of fun, and I'll be there.
I tried to tell you 3 times, but you ignored me.
Councilman Odell.
Hi, thanks, Mayor. One important information I want to give out to our residents and friends, family, of people that might be facing tax foreclosure, back due mortgage payments, utilities. The Michigan Homeowners Assistance Fund has just opened up over $206 million for the state of Michigan to help homeowners get caught up on these bills. It's a free application. It's very simple to go on. The main conditions, it's got to be your primary residence that you're trying to get assistance with and that you were affected financially by COVID. There is income limitations, but they're very generous. For a family of 4 in Macomb County, it's $120,000 or less, so it covers a wide variety of people. I'd highly advise to check out their website to apply for this to see if you can get it, because it is funds that you do not have to pay back. So it can get you caught up from being way behind up to $25,000. So the website is mihaf.michigan.gov. It'll take you right to the application. Check it out. The worst they could do is say no, but they've just opened this up, and it can help out a lot of people. And then secondly, just another reminder, February 12th is Fraser First annual fundraiser for the Blue Jean Ball that's held at Vintage House. Tickets are $45. We're about 2/3 sold, so it's coming up quick. It includes dinner, open bar, lots of raffle, live music. It'll be a good time. And all the money raised, for the most part, goes right back into our local parks. So many people know the Fraser First. I encourage you to come to our annual Blue Jean Ball, and hope to see you there, and have a great night.
Wiki.
I don't have anything.
I just had a quick question with regards to, well, at first I didn't think it was a water main break, and I know we spent a lot of money on those pressure valves. And I did text Mark because it was at night, and I'm like, is there a water main break on my street? Because at first it didn't look like that, and then it was. And of course, it's always in my neighborhood. Seriously, like genuinely. And is that the only one we've had? And I would like it. It's not. Oh, that's just not good.
No, there's been a couple. It's very common when you start having the temperature changes and the ground's kind of like solidifying and freezing.
Yeah, I know. It just happens to always be my neighborhood. Like,
Whole neighborhood.
I'm telling you, the one time we had 5 on my street alone in 1 year. 5. That's like ridiculous. But anyway, I would like to ask that we get a monthly report if we could. Just on, like, you know, this is how many main breaks we had, and this is where we had it. Because I feel that we were assured by AE&W that they would be limited. And so I want to see basically, like, if we could do, I don't think it would be hard. You could put in an easy Excel sheet. Mark could.
We know how many there are. Absolutely.
No, but I'm saying, like, just do like a grid sheet, basically, like, here's how many we had this year, you know, looking at over the years and where they're targeted, because when we do start to work on a little more of our infrastructure, we do need to gauge that, especially the water infrastructure, and the neighborhoods where we're having the most breaks, because obviously there's problems. So that's why I would like that information monthly if we could get it. Would anybody be object to that?
Oh, believe me, it's available.
Okay.
He's got
I've
it.
never
Mike
seen it.
Vigran can get you.
Oh,
I'll
Mike
get an
Vigran.
answer for you. no
Okay,
matter
yeah,
what.
because that would be great.
They
And
log everything into their computer systems, and we went there, and it's amazing what they can do for
yeah,
us.
and then I was going to say, with what Patrick was talking about, and Mr. Odell, I think that would be a great thing. on our website to add as a resource for.
I already did a note
Oh,
to ask for
perfect.
the
I was gonna say,
information.
I would, and then if you wouldn't mind emailing me that, because I probably have a couple members who could.
Absolutely, and it's for anybody in Michigan, and
That, oh my gosh.
Macomb County is really pushing it to help people get caught up on their back taxes and mortgage payments and things like that, and
Oh, yeah, because it benefits them too.
exactly, exactly.
We're not
And,
gonna- It is what it is.
but it's helped a lot of people. It's going to help a lot of people, and main thing is the knowledge. Get out there, get the application in, and
I had something similar in 2008 during the crash. So.
right. They used to, but it used to be based on very limited income. You had to meet a whole lot of. This is much more broader, much more flexible than what was used in the past.
Yeah, that was really all.
I really have nothing also to say, just everyone stay safe out there. We've been lucky with snow this year. It's not killing us yet. We haven't
Yet.
spent a fortune in salt, so we're doing good, so. At this time, I'll bring out to the audience. You ladies have anything you'd like to say? Come on up.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Pardon, I'm sorry.
I'm under the impression if you wanted more citizen participation, you wouldn't have it at the end.
That's okay. Yeah, we have it. It's your floor.
Thank you. I'm Karen Rendell. I live at 15461 Sherwood Lane. My family and I, my husband and 3 kids, 6 and under, moved in 1980. And Fraser has been a very good community. What I would tell you, I think is the most special part of the Fraser community all these years has been the library. I am quite aware that the administration of the city is different than the administration of the library. But I'm also quite aware that you are the landlord. I would tell you that when I moved in, I had kids in the program where the librarian reads to them. As a senior citizen, I find it a very cheap resource for a lot of entertainment, for me, particularly during a time of COVID. It's really helped my mental health. When I look here at the plaque behind, I see the City of Fraser on their plaque says industry, education, and community. I'm not sure what Fraser does on that. The library does a tremendous amount supporting education and does a tremendous amount supporting community activities. And the library, I'm sure, would be glad to be a resource amount if industry wished to find information out. But as a landlord of the library, you have a lot of influence over the library. And whether you, through your action or inaction, you change what happens within that building and will change the future. And as a citizen, I would think that you owe it to the citizens to keep a very strong part of Fraser operating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? No.
Good evening, Council. Jim Sutherland, 31520 Schoolcraft. First off, I want to apologize for my appearance to you this evening. I've been listening to the council meeting all night on YouTube. And unfortunately, we don't have the other one now, the Zoom, where I can actually say something. So I felt compelled to get in the car and come up here. And I apologize, Ms. Levin, if I missed something in between the 5 minutes from when I got to when you were here. I apologize for that. But in the beginning, you moved the agenda on the closed session. I think Councilwoman Boretsky moved it to the middle instead of at the end. And I'm wondering why you did that.
Well, I can address it. Why there's a reason why council would like to move it is attorney costs are so expensive that if they hang around this meeting the whole time, we're paying 2 lawyers multiple hours, hundreds and hundreds of dollars to sit around and wait for us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That clears that
That's one of
up.
the main reasons why it's moved. Sometimes it's moved because an attorney has something, he's got to catch a plane or do something on
Right, okay.
his dockets, but it's usually moved for a very good reason that benefits the city, not just to do it for us.
No, and I appreciate that. My concern is that there's a lot of citizens that listen on YouTube, and they have to wait
Yeah, unfortunately.
for an
yes.
hour while you guys do your closed session, which now I understand why. I get it, and I hope everybody else does too that's out there, because, attorneys are expensive. Sorry, Mr. Denault.
And Ms. Brand.
But, right, look at him over there trying to hide.
I'm worth
But
it.
no, I just was
worth it.
curious. I was just curious on why that is, because a lot of people, so we have some elderly people that like to listen too, and, including myself, 9:30, 10 o'clock, it starts to get late. So I was just curious on that. And the other thing I have, and this is it, and I'll let everybody go for the evening. I'm disappointed in the Parks and Rec last month, just the last month. You guys had a nice long conversation last month at the meeting. It was probably close to a half hour, where Mr. Odell put some, options out there, and Councilwoman Sutherland seconded it, and you guys all talked about it, and you decided you didn't want to do a full-time person. You only wanted to do a half-time person. Some of the reasons is that, you guys didn't feel that there was enough work for a full-time person. And I guess my concern is, you say you don't want to, multi-manage or totally manage the situation with the Parks and Rec. Well, then why are you guys trying to set up all the things and then give it to somebody else to complete for you? It seems backwards to me. It seems like you'd hire a full-time person that has experience, and then you guys say to them, set us up some programs. Go look and see what's out there. And then come to us with a proposal. Instead of you guys micromanaging it and want to go ahead and do everything yourself. You say you don't, but it appears to me you do. Because it's like 3 months now, I keep hearing, I don't want to micromanage this, we don't want to micromanage this. But yet you've done nothing not to. Not made a step forward in not micromanaging it. As far as I can see from all the meetings I attend and everything I go to. So I hope if you can answer that for me today, that'd be great. But I want some movement. Last month, you had a nice meeting. I thought stuff was going to get accomplished. You asked Ms. Levin, I'm sorry, I think it was Sarah was here last month, and she said, sure. You guys asked her to look for part-time people, to get all that together, and bring us something. And now Ms. Levin's telling you today, if I heard it correctly while I was at home, that she didn't have a clear direction on what you guys wanted her to do. And now you're telling her again, okay, and Mr. Odell had to make a motion again, saying, okay, you don't have to go for a full-time person, everybody, but let's go for maybe a part-time, I forget the word he used, like a person that does multiple things.
Hybrid.
Thank you, sir. A hybrid person that can do some of this stuff. That's the same thing you guys said last month. It's the exact same thing you said last month. Nothing has been done in a month. Nothing's been done in 2 months. Nothing's been done in 3 months. This is you guys kicking the can down the road for another month. Can you guys not see that? You guys are all intelligent people. My God, you're smart. You're all smart. Can you not see how you're micromanaging this process and not hiring a full-time person? You say a full-time person doesn't have enough to do? It's because you haven't given them the opportunity to do it. You hire someone full-time, set some expectations for them, let them go, and hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. But you guys are the big picture. It's not up to you to set not expectations, up to you to set the expectations, but it's not up to you to set exactly how they do that. That's why you hire them. I wish one of you could tell me what you have done in the last month as far as helping, setting up programs, or helping to, you say you want to get all this stuff together and then hand it to the person. You don't want to micromanage it, but you don't want to move forward either. I'm sorry, but I'm just disappointed. I really am. I'm very disappointed. I think you guys are better than this. I think you guys are smarter than this. And I'm just disappointed that you guys aren't doing what I believe is good for this city. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to add, only as it regards to the closed session, we actually made a rule previously that whenever possible, we were going to actually do the closed sessions first, and if possible, actually do them before the start of the meeting, because we are very conscientious of the difficulty that the residents have waiting, because we never know if we're going to be there for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't know that we're going to need a closed session until the night of. And because we had the public hearing, we wanted to not have all of those people have to wait too. So, and we didn't want to pay. So I just wanted to let you know that we already, prior council, but while I was on council, we changed it all because they were sitting there for the entire meeting and then doing it at the end. And we were all like, this is crazy. And it is, I get it. I've been on your side where I'm like, when are they coming back? When are they coming back? And we're trying to do it not that way. Unfortunately, this one was unavoidable. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, can I ask, actually, are we not doing it via Zoom anymore, to his other point? Because I thought we were going to keep doing it via Zoom. Did we just not do it today? Have we made an executive?
I didn't think we were doing Zoom anymore.
I know
We could still do the hybrid. We had to be here. That was my understanding.
We are allowed to still do it. If you guys want to continue doing Zoom for the public,
Right.
we can.
Well, because the reason I like it, both the public, because I'm with you, like, I want it to be as accessible as possible, and I've done the same thing, literally gotten out of my pajamas, drove here to say something. Well, yeah. No, you did. But it's also good for our department heads, because our department heads now do not get overtime, do not get comp time. They are treated like professionals, so that we are not making them sit here. They can pop on their camera, we can get the information, and then they can pop off. And the one thing I've noticed, our DPW director, he's obviously paying attention because he's popped on when he wasn't expected to give us information. So to me, I love having the Zoom. I know it does create issues because people can then challenge us, but that's okay. That's why we're here. So I don't,
One
meant
thing
to bring it
about
up in my
is that it does add additional cost because we have to have someone man the Zoom part.
Okay.
Just so you guys are aware, if that's what we want to continue doing moving forward, I think we've had Mary do it in the past.
She does great.
Well, once we eliminated the lieutenants and all that
Yeah.
from doing it, then.
It would be
that's-
Mary having overtime, is that what it would
Stop
be?
Yep, once a month.
I'm fine with Mary having overtime to keep public. Can I make a motion then?
Just as long as we don't have the reverberation again, because I can't deal with that again.
And that's another one of the complications is it seems like it adds that extra component of there's always going to be some AV issue.
That, you have to admit, that reverberation was
But it's
god
more important that
awful.
we be as transparent as possible. So I'm personally okay with once a month having the appropriate clerical staff
I'm fine with that, too.
monitor the Zoom. It does not make any sense for someone who's making
I don't
significantly more than everyone else to monitor it.
But
Does anyone disagree?
have to
Do
work
need
out
a
the
motion,
kinks.
or- I just think it's going to get us more ideas.
Years, we still got the kinks.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I don't think they're ever totally going to go away, unfortunately.
We'll see what we get scheduled for next time.
Okay, thank you. I meant to bring it up earlier, I apologize.
Have clear enough direction then that for the next meeting, we'll have Mary here doing Zoom? Please.
We can sure set it up.
Motion to adjourn?
Good motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everybody.
What I was going to tell you, Mr. Sutherland, is we're not allowed to respond to you directly during a meeting. No, we're not. So we're not ignoring you. We're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, we have to say,
No. Only through the chair.
Oh, so you guys can't answer questions. I'm sorry, Amy.
No, that's why.